This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, episode 38.
This is easy. Next week didn't play out so well. I was like, oh, let's try Tesla out. As you mentioned, a lot of contracts at Tesla could end poorly pretty quickly. And it did. I was losing thousands of dollars each day.
This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, where you get to see the realistic side of a trader's journey. Get inspired and stay motivated by everyday normal people who are currently on their journey to trading success. And this is your host, who has had sideburns since the 7th grade, Clay Trader.
And you know what? I still have them to this day, and I've been graduated from high school and middle school a long time. So, I'd imagine sideburns have gone out of style. Maybe they're back in style. Maybe they've never been in style since I started to do it. I have no idea, but they've always been there, so I'm going to keep them there as long as they will stay in my face. But that's kind of just one of my proud little I guess not really a proud moment, but it was kind of, I felt kind of cool walking around, but now everybody's got them if they want them. So at this point in life, when we've all gone through that special body change period, so is anybody awkward? Is this listening with your kid? Hey, if you're listening with the kid right now and they're asking you, what is this guy talking about body change? You can thank me later. I just introduced you into a very good topic that you're going to have to probably have with your child at some point. So, and Ches is shaking his head right now on the webcam. So I think that's my sign to just move over to Ches, our co-host. And have you ever had sideburns, Ches? I mean, in what point in life did you give them a try? And are they in style, if you know?
Never gave him a try, and I'm not that much younger than you, but at the same time, I'm already balding, so yeah, hair in general is just a sore topic for me, and I always joke with people that I'm 26 going on 65, so yeah, no sideburns, hair, none of that is ever a concern anymore. I'm a big fan of baseball caps, and that's about it. But yeah, no sideburns for me. I've never had any.
But you know what? I'm going to give Kelly Trader a plug here. That just shows that you don't need hair or sideburns to find yourself a nice lady, because Kelly Trader, I met her, I can't say I know her, but she seems like a very pleasant woman. So you don't need hair or sideburns to find yourself a nice little gal. You know what I'm saying, Ches?
Well, I had some nice hair back when I met her, but I roped her in with that nice hair, and now it's all gone.
The bait and switch?
Yeah, pretty much bait and switched her with baldness. Yep.
Make sure Kelly listens to this intro. I'm trying to get on her good side, okay? So
I'll sure definitely do that.
Fantastic. Well, we have a great interview this morning. We are talking with Nate. He goes by Etan, E-T-A-N. We had a little discussion. How do you pronounce that? I call him Etan, but I don't think that's right, in my mind at least. But E-T-A-N is what he goes by in the chat room. All you people in the chat room, you know who I'm talking about. Our friend from Boston, Massachusetts. And he's got a nice story for us. He's been through quite a few ups and downs, and has one of the bigger fool's gold experiences that we've talked about, where he made a very nice chunk of money in a very short amount of time. And I'll ruin this quote. And then he got to the point of thinking, this is easy. And then where it went from there, I'll just leave that for the interview. But a good, interesting conversation, and one where he just fully admits he got slaughtered a few times, and he's very transparent. And for those of you that are in the chat room, you know that he's been posting a spreadsheet for us and keeping us up to date on things. So we're going to learn about his story and kind of see where he's been and where he is headed. So without further ado, let's hop right in. Nate, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, well, I don't know how glad Ches is for you to be here. We were just the little context. Saturday morning, we were recording this. Ches, our little surfer boy out in California, has got to wake up pretty early for this, and then you were 10 minutes late, and Ches is not too happy about that. So for you listeners out there, if Ches is a little hostile towards Nate through this interview, that's why. So Ches, I mean, are you locked and loaded to maybe throw some Chris Hansen questions at him?
Oh, I got a whole mess of Chris Hansen questions loaded up when you make me get up at sunrise on a Saturday. Oh, yeah. I got a whole nice list of them. You're going to be interrogated real good on this podcast.
So, Ches, you're about to make it rain Chris Hansen, right?
You got it.
All right, Nate. Well, let's just start at the beginning, as we always do. Kind of tell us about the very beginning of your journey. What got you interested in the market? How did you even hear about it? And then kind of what made you finally decide to put some of your money on the line?
I've actually been interested in the stock market back into. That's a good question. I forgot to mention that in back in high school, we actually took like a little stock class, and I was like, oh, this is kind of neat. Just like a little. I don't even remember the site we used. It was like the paper trading, I guess, site you could call it, and I did pretty well. It was fun. I didn't know what the heck I was doing, obviously, and but I think it was right after I got my first job as a web developer. I ran into a buddy of mine, Ralph. I still talk to him to this day. And
Cool, cool. So you took this thing in high school. Now, where did you start, applying? When did you decide to fund an account or do something like that?
I met Ralph, and he kind of like pointed me in the direction of, yeah, maybe you should start making your money work for you. So I got into a little company called Micron, and which turned out pretty well for me. And Facebook, as soon as it came out on IPO, because I jumped right onto that. And
Now,
like
let me
many,
just, I'm curious, did you get your Facebook shares right away? Because I remember when that IPO happened and it was just messed up. People didn't know if they had shares or if they didn't. Because I mean, just it basically broke everything. Do you
Mhm.
remember anything? I mean, did you have any issues with that? Or were you too kind of ignorant to even know that there was a problem because you were so new?
Yeah, I think I was a little ignorant. I mean, it would have helped if I knew. But I mean, what the heck? How am I supposed to know? It was one of my first stocks to
Right.
really
First
get into.
trades. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
something else I'm curious on. Just you meet Ralph and
Mhm.
then open up and fund an account. What was that time frame there?
What was the time frame?
Yeah,
Oh
how long
man.
did that actually take?
Um, well, I know Patty's mentioned this. I got jumped right into E Trade. You gotta love the baby.
Yep, they have a
And
great marketing advertising, that's for sure.
so I think when he brought it up, probably within a week or so, I was like,
Okay,
all right,
all right. So
I'll
this
give
is
it a
when like
shot.
multiple months. It was like
No,
you moved
yeah,
quick
right
then. So
away.
you
Yeah,
clearly okay. All right, cool. So this Ralph guy, you obviously
yeah,
trusted what he had to say and respected him.
yep,
Because yeah,
yep,
that's moving super fast then. So you said you got into Micron and Facebook for your
yep.
first trades. How did they end up turning out? And then kind of where did you head from there? Were you looking like to just be an investor, or were you thinking I want to be an active trader? Kind of just where did your journey go after you participated with your E-Trade account and these first two stocks?
I think at that point I was more just wanted maybe some of my money to actually be working for me, and probably more of an investor at that point. And then, of course, I had what everybody else I think has probably with your little mine shares and everything like that. And got into like, oh, this penny stocks, like those things can explode. So I jumped in on a couple of those. I mean, didn't put too much in it, so I didn't lose out that much yet. Anyway, and
So who actually led you to penny stocks? Was it
it
just the
was
internet or a friend or something?
the internet that cursed the internet.
Gotcha,
So,
gotcha. I'm sure they drew you in with dreams of grandeur and 1,000% gainers.
oh yeah, it was a big part of that was looking at like the what is it? The E Trade has like a little community social network type thing on the E Trade site. So,
So I mean, you weren't running like Google searches looking for anything. You just literally found it through E-Trade forums.
yeah, pretty much. And then I ended up stumbling upon a couple of like penny stock scanner type websites, and kind of just went on from there. I didn't get into too much of it because I was more like, well, these aren't really doing much. I'm just gonna let it sit and see what the heck happens. But like I said, luckily, I know a lot of people have probably lost a lot of money doing that stuff, but I didn't. I was kind of wired into like having like my Facebook and Micron kind of working for me. I was like, well, those are working, and these penny stocks are eating away at my money. So I don't like things eating away at my money, of course.
Welcome to the club. Do you remember any
Yep.
of the tickers that you did for penny stocks? Because it's always fun to see
Oh
if
man,
I can relate or if listeners can like, oh yeah, I remember that one. Or some listeners, yeah, I was part of that one. Do you remember any of the tickers?
I'm trying to remember. I think
Co-
one was SNRS, maybe something like that.
Yeah, that one sounds familiar.
Might have a couple letters skewed, but I'm pretty sure that's pretty close to what it was. But it was like oh man, it was like a 0.003 or something. I'm like, this can't go any lower.
And instead of working for you, like you said, it was just it worked for you, but it just worked against you actually in terms of eating
Oh
away your
yeah.
account. So did you ever have any penny stock success at all, or was it all pretty much just
Uh,
downhill in terms of your penny stock trades?
every penny stock I had I was unfortunate to have it pretty much just die. I mean, I still have a few sitting in my E-Trade account right now. So,
Gotcha. But the one thing you said you did, which was whether or not, I don't know if you meant to do it, but you controlled your risk just by going
mhm.
small size up front. It's not like you poured
Yes.
in a ton of money. You just went small, which was a basic form, but a very
Yeah.
powerful form of risk management. So
Yes.
good on you for doing that. So at what point did you just determine, you know what, this penny stock stuff is just nonsense. I need to do something else. And
Mhm.
then, so what finally kind of brought you to that moment? And then where did you go after determining that penny stocks just wasn't what was going to get your goals accomplished?
I quickly found how everyone seemed to be just pumping everything. And I think at the time I didn't even know what a pump and dump was. But I kind of had an idea of, all right, these guys are just trying to make some money quick and then get the heck out of here while I'm stuck holding shares. Um, a little later, actually, earlier this year, and this is what I kept bringing up to coming back to say blaming you, Clay, for me not finding you any sooner. And I think you every time I say that, you're like, you're the only person I ever hear say that.
This is true.
But I'll get into that in a moment anyway. Um, but I ended up finding, what is it, the silver ETF as well, the SLV. I think I still have that as well, and I actually made some decent money with that one. Again, I didn't really. I mean, I had kind of a plan: buy here, sell here, but I didn't have the actual knowledge of why I should be buying here and why I should be selling there, and holding winners and everything like that that I know to this day. And um, so I made probably a few grand off of kind of scalping the silver ETF. And then after this, and then I also noticed another ETF. What is it called? Pro. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But anytime I would sell that SLV ETF, I would buy into another ETF that went down as silver. I mean, that went up as silver's going down, and SLV would go up as silver's going up. So I kind of did that a few times, made some good money. Um, but my last time I bought into SLV, as you know, gold and silver has kind of plummeted, and I still have a little bit of shares in, not many, like 60 or 70 shares of SLV in my account to this day. And I'm kind of just, I mean, it's not many, so I'll just let it sit there for now anyway. And I also got into, I think right after that, I went back into, it wasn't really, I guess it was like a $2 stock. I don't know. I guess you can kind of consider that kind of a penny stock deal because it technically was. It was a little coffee shop called Jam, I think. J A.
JAMN. I remember
You
that
got it.
one.
Yep.
Yep.
And I got into that, and if you remember, that thing actually got pumped pretty hard.
Oh, that was a big promotional one. There was multiple campaigns that went out on that one, and
Hmm.
if you look at that chart, it had its booms, it had its dumps, and then it had its
Yep.
booms again. So yep,
Oh yeah.
there was a lot of promotional money that was poured into that one. But yeah, I mean, if you knew what you were doing, there were also some really good trading opportunities in that one. So I guess that brings up my question: did you know what you were doing, or were you one of those people that got slaughtered on it?
Definitely didn't know what I'm doing. I still have those shares in my account to this day.
So you were one of the people that got slaughtered during it, huh?
A little bit, yeah.
Well, hey, it happens. It happens. But don't you? Isn't it weird though? Don't you wish, like, man, I really wish I could go back in time and trade that one again. Now knowing what I do, because I would you would have done really well on it if you had
Oh
known
yeah,
what you know now back then.
hands down. If I
Yeah.
could have just known. This is why I blame you for
Hey,
me not
it's not
finding
my
you.
fault. You didn't look hard enough. I was out there. You didn't run the proper searches or
Yeah.
whatever. So,
Uh,
go
So
ahead.
after all of this, now when did you realize that something needed to change? Was it you didn't have any technical analysis at this point? I'm assuming.
no, not at that point. This was still a few years ago, I believe, when I got into the whole jamming um, company, and I'm trying to remember. I think after that, I was like, oh, I'm a very visual person. I'm going to start looking into like charts and everything like that. And so I started doing. I'm sure a lot of people start looking into like all the free YouTube videos here and there, and I mean, I found some pretty good things, and um, I had an idea. I'm a very visual person, as I said, and recently, actually, I mean, I don't want to like kind of gloat or brag or anything like this because it was news to me. I always knew I was a visual person,
Hey, if you're
and
willing to admit you got slaughtered on plays, you're allowed to gloat a little bit too. I mean, I don't expect you to just rip on
okay,
yourself the
good,
whole
good,
time.
good. So, um, my mother actually, I think last year, finally came across. I mean, I think I'm actually older than you, Clay.
Are
Actually
you willing to
31.
disclose your age?
Yeah, I'm 31.
No, we're the same age. What month were you
Okay.
born?
But I mean, like, so when I was 30, so like last year, my mother decides to tell me, "Oh, you have like a borderline genius visual IQ." I'm like, that would have been really nice to know when I was maybe a teenager.
Yeah, when you were back
So
in yeah. But
yeah,
hey, late is better than never.
hey, it was kind of, I was like, oh, well, maybe that's why I'm visual. But anyway, so I started looking into the whole like charts and everything because I mean it's visual, so I mean I could pick that stuff out pretty quick, all the patterns and trying to teach myself that. And um, so after I kind of did that and traded here and there, and this was obviously still way before I found Clay Trader, and try to get to the point, but I still laugh to it because it was a what was it? It's a come into that what we call in the chat room fool's gold. That's the point where I'm getting to, and it was pretty bad fool's gold. So I did some trading here and there. I finally sold my Micron in Facebook shares. I sold my Micron shares. As you remember, I bought it back when it was like 9, and I sold it probably what was it, like 34. So that was pretty good.
Nice
And
trade.
when I sold it, my buddy wanted to get into to stocks as well. He says, I don't know, man, because he tends to be cheap. He doesn't obviously want to lose money. I mean, nobody wants to lose money, but he really doesn't want to lose money. I was like, you gotta kind of have to put it out there that you have to be willing to lose what you're putting in just in case. And so he bought into Micron when I sold,
So
and
you
he's
basically
still
sold
into
him
it.
your shares, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. I was like, what would you? I didn't tell you to buy it yet, because I mean, I had a little bit of knowledge, obviously not as much as I do now, thanks to you guys. But I still laugh. He hates me to this day
Well, who
for
was right and who was wrong in that transaction? Did it
yeah,
go up from
yeah.
that point or did it go down?
Oh, Micron's at what, 17 now?
Oh, is it?
So
Yeah,
yeah,
Micron's a mud stock. I don't like those stocks.
yeah. I
So
remember.
MU, I forget that one. Okay, so he was wrong. You were right to sell, and he shouldn't
Yep.
have bought. So his, I guess, worst fear came
Mm-hmm.
he's losing money currently unless
Oh
he's
yeah.
so but so okay, I mean, at what point, what is drawing you to this fool's gold? Is the fool's gold coming because you sold Micron for a profit and you sold Facebook for a profit? So is that what got you to think, hey,
Um,
I really know what I'm doing? Or where did this fool's gold really kind of derive itself from?
I don't necessarily call those fool's goals because I don't necessarily call those fool's gold because I kind of held on to those for kind of like an investment purpose, and the fool's gold will be coming as soon as I started noticing. Oh, what's this options gig? It's pretty cool. You can trade Apple and everything like that. Because at the time I didn't have the money to maybe trade Apple or Facebook when it was like in the 80s and everything like that. And I believe this was earlier this year. I finally started looking into the whole options, even before I found you. And so I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. I studied it, looked up online, found anything I could find about what I could do, was certain strategies to use for options and everything like that. And I kind of figured it out on my own what meant what, all the little fancy delta and everything like that. I'm not going to get into detail about that, obviously, but so my first, what was it? One of my first option trades, I think it was earlier this year, like in, I want to say February, maybe even March, because I don't think I found clay until, when was it, like in April, maybe, I
You've been
believe.
around for a while, so it
Yeah,
definitely was earlier in 2015.
yeah. So this was probably about a month or two before I even found you, and I started trading. Oh man, I was buying with my E-Trade account nonetheless, and Patty did a whole spiel about the fees that associate with the trading options and just anything with E-Trade. And so I would buy. Oh man, I was buying like 10, 20 contracts of of Tesla at certain premiums and everything like that. And what was it? I remember it was like, I believe, a Tuesday. I bought into, was it? I think it was Alibaba actually. I bought into Alibaba. I think I had 10 or 20 contracts of it, and within like an hour I sold it for like $1,300. So I mean, $1,300 in an hour, that's not too shabby if you ask me.
Now I'm smelling where the fool's
So
gold's coming
Hey,
from.
So did you just decide that you were going to start trading intraday out of the blue, or just because you had, you want
kind
to
of,
make more
yeah.
money quickly? Because it seemed like you went from kind of buy and hold to, you're making $1,300 in an hour. I just want to kind of see where that flip happened.
Yeah, that's a good point, Chaz. I didn't notice that, but good. Yeah, that's a great question. What happened here?
Um, yeah, I don't know. I think I always kind of was just intrigued that, especially after I started looking into the charts more and everything like that, I was like, hey, I could actually kind of I could make something out of this. And I don't know. It's just something about money that drives everybody's
I think I know the answer. You
emotions.
you have no idea. You were just making it up
Yes,
as you
it's a
went. Is
good,
that a
yeah,
fair? From an
pretty
outsider
much.
looking in,
I
that's what it
mean,
sounds like to me. You had no plan. You were just making this up as you
it was
went. You
it
hopped
was
into this trade.
definitely
All of a sudden, an hour later, hey, I'm up $1,300. I'm out of here. Hey, look, I'm a day trader now. Is that pretty much how it kind of went?
pretty much. I mean, I knew how to kind of read a candlestick chart and stuff like that. I didn't know like about all the how to pick a trend and everything, but I knew like what the candles did and somewhat what they meant. Not to a great extent, but I knew how to somewhat read it, and I
And
thought it was good
let me ask
enough.
this though, because this is a huge point. And up until this point, this is all like random free education across the internet, right? YouTube videos and
Yep,
stuff. Is that
yep.
so? This is, and like I said, I realize that I'll be the first to admit there's probably a conflict of interest and a bias here.
Hmm.
But yes, I sell courses, but this is the risk and the trade-off of free stuff is there's no structure to it. So you're going to end up like Nate is describing to us, where yeah, I knew what a candlestick was, but I kind of didn't know that, and I understood, but I didn't quite. I mean, there's always too many buts when
Hmm.
there's free education because you get a little bit of information, but you don't quite know it, if that is that where it fits in the sequence. So and whether or not it's a program that I offer or somebody else, that is something that's nice about paid for education. Well, at least the decent ones is there should be a structure to it where it goes through an order of how you should learn things so that you can apply it in a practical manner. But when
Hmm.
it's just free and you're going around surfing like Nate said he was doing, you're going to get bits and pieces. I'll never deny, yes, the internet is a wonderful place. There's free stuff all over the place. But the risk and the trade-off is am I getting this in the proper order? Is this even legit information? Am I learning it in an order that's going to help me or confuse me? And it sounds like to me you were still pretty confused because you thought you knew, but you weren't quite sure, but you knew about that, but you didn't know if that was right. I mean, it just kind of sounds like your mind was all over the place, which sounds to me comes from just you randomly gathering bits of knowledge with no real structure. Is that kind of a fair assessment of kind of how your mind was functioning at this point in time?
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, I knew like the support resistances, and I would draw lines and stuff like that. Didn't really know what they technically meant, but you definitely hit the nail on the head with that. And
Okay, well, I want to hear. So you made $1,300 on Baba. Oh, and listeners, you made the comment that you're buying like 20 contracts of Tesla.
oh my god.
For the listeners out there, the context of that is that's super risky. 20 contracts of Tesla options. That's definitely a big boy stock to be trading. So when Nate's sitting there buying all those contracts of Tesla, the overlying context of that story is he's taking on huge risk by doing that. So I did want to set that up. So it sounds like to me you're playing with quite a bit of fire right now. It worked on Baba, but where did it
Yep.
go from here?
It actually went better. The next a couple days later, that same exact week, I bought into what was it called? Another B stock. I forget what it was exactly called, but I bought into it. It was another big stock. Man, I wish I could remember the name of it,
Probably
but it
Baidu,
was
maybe.
yes, exactly. Baidu. Good call.
BIDU. Yep.
Yep. So I bought into them. I believe it was Thursday. I bought 10, 15 contracts of that, and instead of like scaling out or anything like that, I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna hold it overnight." So I held it overnight, and I wake up like $5,000 richer. So over probably about a $6,000 week, and I'm like, oh, this is easy. Like I knew I could do this type of stuff, and then
Famous last words. This is easy. Oh, brother, this is wow. Is a fool's gold strong with you?
oh my
Hey,
gosh,
I wish I was half as lucky as you've been.
So, needless to say, next week didn't play out so well. I was like, oh, let's try Tesla out. As you mentioned, a lot of contracts at Tesla could end poorly pretty quickly. And it did. I was losing thousands of dollars each day. And I even remember specifically one, I believe it was Netflix. And this was Netflix when it was, what, in like 500s or however high it was. I don't even remember how high it was now. But I would buy like 10 contracts of Netflix even, which is quite a bit of
That's
money.
crazy. Yeah, that's insane risk for the point that you're at, right? Or
Yeah.
you were at this point in your journey.
And the part that really killed me was I'd be up like $1,200 on it, and then in an instant I'd be down like $1,200. So I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this? So obviously after I pretty much gave back all my gains in that nice, beautiful, what $6,000 week I made, luckily, the fool's gold. Um, I was probably lost triple that easily within the next coming weeks.
Really? So it went
Yeah.
from I'm up $6,000, quote, this is easy, to then
Yep.
you lost about 3 times that amount in the next few weeks.
Oh yeah, pretty much. So at that point, I was like, "Oh man, something's wrong here. I want to research a little bit more." And I still haven't found you yet, obviously, or I would have probably known better by now.
So it
Um,
sounds like your luck really kind of eventually ran out. Is that safe to say?
a little bit, yeah.
Now, did you decide to kind of pull the plug on your trading at this point, after losing kind of more than you had made, or were you still just kind of 20 contracts deep in a $700 stock?
Yes and no. Let's say I got a little a hot stock tip from actually my mom's ex-boss. That my buddy, the little company called what is it called now? BGMD. It was what was it when I got into it?
BGMD was
Yes.
the okay. So that's wasn't that a penny stock?
Yeah, I believe I got into it at like 80 cents or something like that.
So how did this hot stock pick work out for you?
It started off great. I mean, the next couple weeks, I mean, there's a huge buyouts and everything like that. You love the buyout rumors, right?
Oh, those are the great ones. Reverse mergers, all that sort of stuff.
Oh man, and yeah, they had a lot of backing with who's that big company for pharmaceuticals? It's actually oddly enough my mom's company's. My mom was one of the managers of or supervisors. She's been with Roche Diagnostics for quite a while, so she's worked her way up the ladder. I think she currently runs like the entire East Coast actually, so that's pretty cool. Travels a lot. But it's one of their biggest competitors. So I think it kind of hurt her to jump into that because one of her biggest competitors is back in this little penny stock, um, and it next over the next couple weeks or something like that, it jumped over $1. I was like, oh sweet, but I didn't take profits or anything like that quickly. Not really quickly. I mean, it's still in my account to this day. Just sitting there because it's kind of worthless at this point.
You have a lot
But
of stocks that are still sitting in your account right now that
oh yeah, it's
so
good reminders, I guess.
it is,
If
yeah.
you
If
put it
anything,
that
it's a
way.
good reminder. So that one didn't work out. So at what point did you finally come across the clay trader stuff? What and then kind of where did your journey go from here?
It was shortly after that little hot stock tip, actually, probably within a month, which I believe I found you guys. It was either in March or April of this year, I believe, and that kind of chilled me out for a little bit. I was like, oh, I like the way he's teaching, because I'm always a big fan of simple. I like keep it simple, stupid, and so I jumped into. I was like, let's check out the chat, the inner circle. So I started talking to people, and everyone was great. I just wanted to see, because I always got that skeptical side of me, because I mean it's just scams everywhere, and I know I've been scammed myself. I think everybody has been.
You
So
should be everyone should be skeptical. Absolutely.
yeah, exactly. So I figured let's just, I mean, it's 99 bucks a year. So I was like, sure, why the heck not? Talk to actual stock traders and see what everybody's going on. So I don't remember how long. I think it was quickly. I think it was like a week after talking to people. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna actually try and get a course. I didn't get CTU right away. As you know, I am CTU now. And I I think it was robotic trading, because I love the charts, so I wanted to learn charts even better. And so I started looking into that, and within a few videos, I was like, oh, I love the way this guy's teaching me.
So
So
I'm
kudos to you.
curious because you're a guy you had all sorts of free education and you were doing
Yep.
the free YouTube videos, free this, free that. So how did the robotic trading compare to the free stuff? And be honest, I mean, this is just a curiosity question, so I don't expect you to plug anything. Just what were
hmm
your thoughts?
Um, the the very first video. How you compared it with weather kind of got me hooked. That's how quick I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool, because it made sense to me right away. Um, and as I went down through the videos, and then looking at how to pick out trends and everything like that, I was like, all right, this there's something here. And as soon as I finished that course, um, I don't think it was long after I finished that course, I ended up just jumping into CTU and kind of going through all the courses. I'm still finishing a couple of them now. I haven't finished them all. There's a lot of a lot of
Yep.
material to go through. So, and I do still work full time, as I mentioned, for the lottery. And oh, what was it? I think one of my favorite parts was how to pick a trend. And I mean, that seems like it's such a simple concept, but it was something that kind of eluded me. I didn't really understand, and now I could look at a chart within not even a second, probably like a split second, be like, all right, this is doing this. So I mean, that definitely was definitely a huge help. And as you all know, I was still somewhat trading. I paper traded a little bit, not much, and then I was still trading here, and then I did the option simplified course. But luckily for me, I flew through the option simplified course, um, because of the knowledge I already had of for the majority. I mean, I picked up a few things here and there, so it was still obviously it's still worth your time if you could pick. I always say if you can watch somebody's video or videos and pick up one little aspect of it, uh, you gain that much more power. So knowledge is power. It was worth watching the entire course for me, even though I had that back knowledge. Um, so after that, I was like, all right, let's try some more options. So I started doing options trading. Like the majority, it seems like the majority of people are doing options tradings. Um, I know a couple people don't. They kind of just stay away from options and stuff like that. And so I did options. I mean, it is a little bit better. I had better risk management, as you like to call it. And I still, for whatever reason, options didn't seem to agree with me. I think there was too much involved, because there is a lot involved with options. It's not just a pick a price and pick an exit. I mean, you could do that, but there's other stuff that are you have to take into account. You can't just pick a. I mean, you could easily just pick a stock, the premium price, and then pick a premium exit and stuff like that. But that doesn't work that way because there's so many different factors that are involved. So I think that was one of the reasons why I ended up not doing that well with options. And I mean, I might it might be different now, but um, for some reason, I just like equity more. I believe it was one of the Nates, one of the other Nates. They said the same thing, that they prefer the equity over the options, right?
Yeah, you're probably talking about Nate Wilson.
Yes,
Who?
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
So all right, so because I want to get because I know where you're at right now in your journey. So
Hmm.
I don't want to ruin it, but I mean, where are you at right now, and what kind of caused you to do what you've been doing for probably about the past month now? You know, because you've been posting your spreadsheet
Yep.
in the chat room, which has been awesome. So we can all kind of keep you
Hmm.
accountable for things.
Yeah, the
So
spreadsheet has been great.
Yeah. Um, Thanks for that, by the way. And the the reason I ended up switching, just being like options, just doesn't seem to be working for me because of all the factors that I had mentioned right now. And I like to just be able to look at a chart and quickly just be like, I want in here, I want out here, and I want out here if it goes cut loses quick. If it goes against me and it hits that stop loss, I'm out. Because risk management. I mean, what was it? Oh man, it was I think I did try some options trading still before I started that spreadsheet. I still have some options trades on that spreadsheet just to kind of remind me. And it wasn't that bad actually after I finished. I think it was shorting for profit actually was a huge game changer for me. That was definitely a eye opening course. And so after I did that, I started kind of being able to even going long. I think a lot of people in the chat room has also mentioned that it kind of helps going long as well. Oddly enough, so that definitely helped me. And after to a certain point, I was like, options. It just doesn't seem to be working for me because of the factors that I mentioned. And I know I keep annoying people with that, but I'm doing that for a reason. There's a lot. There's a lot involved to go in options. Don't just jump into the deep end, without
right,
any of the knowledge.
no, that exactly. So I mean, what are you doing right now at this point in time? I don't want to steal your thunder, but you're doing something very important.
Hmm.
And just why are you doing that? What are your plans with what you're doing? When are you going to stop doing what you're doing? Like I said, that we've all in the chat room have been following through that nice
Yeah.
spreadsheet that you've published.
Yeah. Okay. So when I decided, I was like, all right, go back to equity because I've always enjoyed the equity part. And so what I do now is VRX and Weight Watchers actually have
All
been.
right, I'm going to steal your thunder. You've been paper trading, right?
Yes, paper trading.
Paper trading. So the dreaded words that so many people really don't want to do because it's not as fun
Hmm.
as putting money, because you don't actually make any money when you paper trade. But
Nope.
so tell us about your paper trading.
You might not make money, but if you do it properly, you're making a lot more than just money. You're learning. Trust me. As long as you're not going crazy and being like, oh, I'm gonna drop 100 grand on this trade. If you don't have 100 grand, you don't have 100 grand. It's not going to give you that emotional attachment.
You
So I'm
definitely got to
still
keep it realistic. So you've
yes,
definitely been doing that, which is great.
yes. You definitely have to keep it realistic, and I try to even when I show my buddies and everything like what I've been doing because they always ask. I'm like I'm trying to make sure, trying to act like it's real money because if you can try to act like it's real money, you're gonna play with it like it's real money. I mean, I have this realistic amount in my account that I could do to this day. Um, but I plan on doing it for probably till the end of this year um, for paper trading, just to see if I can keep up. As you know, you've seen the spreadsheet, and
What day
what
did
was
you
it?
start, real quick, so listeners can hear how long you will actually be paper trading since you're going to the end of the year?
Yes, I believe the first day on my spreadsheet is October 16th. I believe. I think that was a Friday actually, which it turned out to be a good day. I believe that was like a $295 day, I believe, in the green. So, I mean, it's fake money, but if you keep it real again, it's good. And throughout the past, was it the past few weeks, I believe I've been posting, right? So I've had what I consider it two losing days, I believe. Two losing days. I've had one was like a minus 166, and one was just like a $2 gain. But I mean, if you had actual fees into that $2 gain, I mean, that's considered a loss in my book. Plus, it was sloppy all over, and over trading. You don't want to overtrade.
And there's
Um,
never a perfect transition. So I'd always say, subtract out 20% of what it,
yeah.
because most people say, oh, I made all kinds of money. Well, so
Hmm.
subtract 20% from that. Where do you sit at that point in
Yeah.
time? So,
Yeah.
because it's never going to be flawless, but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the spreadsheet has been looking good, and I always grill you. Are you making it realistic on yourself? And you say that
Yep.
you're making it realistic because that's the important part.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, if you notice, even the gains, it's not like I'm making thousands of dollars each day and being like, "Look at this spreadsheet. I am the man. I am I am awesome at this." But it's like 200 here, 300 there. Even some days are like $70 if, because I mean, I am working. Luckily, I've been really lucky to have the job that I have. I do work from home for the most part. I think Tuesdays, which is why I can't make your webinars. I actually work up in the office, which is like a 2 hour commute for me. But I mean, I'm willing to make that commute for something that can sustain, allow me to be able to trade and do what I love, do also what I love to do. Um, but
So, what would you say? What's your favorite strategy right now that you're applying? That you found so much good
yeah,
success lately since you kind of switched back to paper. Is there specific indicators you're using, or give us your methodology on that?
Yeah, and to piggyback, what's on your chart? What does your chart
hmm
actually look like? What are you looking at on a routine basis?
of course. Um, Actually, the indicators I've been using really just price action. Like I have RSI up, I have the MACD up on the 5 minute, 15 minute, 30 minute, and the daily. I have the RSI and MACD on those. But I really just kind of use those for confirmation because, as you know, it's kind of a lagging indicator. And I mean, I'm in and out of trades really quick, kind of like you, Clay. I know you're impatient with if you're stuck in a trade too long, and I just want out of here. I'm the same exact way, except I might be even worse. So I'm constantly scalping little trades here and there. I'll let winners win and cut losers really quick. That's what I've been really good at doing is cutting losers. As soon as it goes against me, I'm pretty much out. Um, I might have to get a little bit more patient with that because there has been times where it bounces back and stuff like that. But
I'm cutting you off there. You can never that if your strong suit is cutting
mhm,
losers and it's a bad thing that you cut them to, who cares, man? Well, that makes me feel better about your numbers and why they because
mhm,
I'm like, why? How can he not have any quite losing days? But if you're just freaking cutting losers and you happen to be wrong, who cares if you lose $20 here or
mhm,
there if and it happens to bounce the other way? It's better than so don't change that. There's nothing wrong with cutting losers too quick. I mean, if your spreadsheet looks the way it does, and that's probably something that you want. That's why it works or looks the way it does, is
mhm.
because you're super aggressive with cutting losses, and there's nothing ever wrong with being super aggressive and cutting losses. So don't change that. That's nothing you need to work on. So proceed onwards. But yeah, good. We had a little moment there where because yeah, that's a good non-problem to have. Would you agree there, Ches? I think that's because I guess I am definitely not the be all end all. So that's just my opinion. But don't you think that's a pretty good issue to have if you're super aggressive and actually cutting losses?
That's a fantastic issue to have, and yeah, just pretty much to kind of mimic what Clay just said. If your spreadsheet looks the way it does because you're doing that and cutting them quickly, you
Mhm.
keep doing that. Do not change that. Do not start trying to change anything, throwing a wrench in the whole plan here. You stick to what's working.
Don't fix what's not broken, right?
Exactly.
And this just segues into a good question that I know Ches has been burning to ask you here.
So, so I know you had found a lot of fool's gold in the beginning, but I know you didn't always make money. So, how would you say dealing with a loss compared to, how did a loss feel back then compared to how it feels now for you?
Oh, that's a really good question, actually. Back then, I wanted to rip my heart out.
Well, I don't think you took losses back then, did you? Because you got about 50 stocks in your portfolio that are just still sitting there, don't you? So did you ever take a loss before now, or I mean, yeah, this to me
That's
it's
a
very fascinating because it's like now talk about two ends of the spectrum. You've mentioned at least three stocks I think that are still in your portfolio because you
yeah.
never sold them, and now you're talking about being super aggressive with your losses.
hmm
So we're on two ends of the spectrum here. So
Oh
I
my
mean, what
god, yeah.
happens psychologically to take you from one far end of the spectrum all the way to the other?
Uh, it's good that you mentioned that because you're probably gonna eat me alive for this. But back then, when I first started the options, I'd be like, let's just ride it to the expiration. And you know how that always turns
I don't
out.
need to
So
eat you at all. I think your account spoke enough. I think your account ate plenty for you, so I don't need to do anything with that. Your account numbers, I think, provided the teaching lesson there.
oh yeah. So how I transitioned from that to that, really just with the training and everybody in the trading group and just all the help everybody gives each other, and webinars are actually also a huge turning point for me, especially like the guests. And I think I remember Gators, I believe it was, where he's talking about like the shadows, and he's not worried because this is doing that. And that I looked when I was watching that, because that was one of the webinars I was actually able to attend to live. And as he's going over that, I'm like, oh wow, that makes perfect sense now to me. So kudos to Gator for pointing out, for helping that, because
Right.
that's
Good. So
one of the.
you enjoy a little context to listeners. It's been pretty new, but on the live webinars, I've also now started to interview other members. A lot of them have already been on the podcast, but we talk about specific trades so they can talk about, what they saw through their eyes during the trade. So I interview them. Everybody else can ask questions during it. So it's very interactive, and it's just, I mean, so that's really that's good feedback for me, is that you've,
Mhm,
so you found the interviews very helpful then.
definitely.
So it sounds like your
Especially.
interview is coming quick then. To,
Maybe
as
it
soon as I
is.
move it back, when we get back to Wednesday nights, then you'll be up to bat then at that point. So,
Yeah.
but good. So it's just been and that's the culture we try to create. Is just losing is fine. Losing is part of the game. If you're not losing, then you're lying, because everybody loses, and that's just the way the market
Mhm.
works. So as we start to wrap things up, we'll do a few final questions. But I'm curious, since you do have a job, do you have any sort of like routines or rituals? How do you actually prep for the day, in terms of finding what sort of stocks you are looking to trade? So kind of walk us through a typical day for you.
Okay. So, for a typical weekday, I'll wake up, obviously get my coffee because I'm useless without my coffee, and so I'll do that, and pretty much just hop right into the inner circle, and open up maybe the over $1 room and everything like that. Kind of scan through. I'll actually grab. I know a couple people, especially you, Clay, you post like a watch list, so I'll grab that. I'll put it in like a little sticky note on my MacBook, and I'll kind of go from there. I'll look at those stocks and see if I see anything particular. I typically don't really trade the first like 5-15 minutes, just because I want to see what's going on. Um, and I also have to log on to work at the same time too, so that's probably doesn't help. But after that, I'm just looking through. I have a FinsViz scanner up. If anything catches my eye, it's really just a lot of scanning, a lot of just looking around, and the alerts from everybody in the chat rooms. Um, that's really my go-to scan, because I mean, what's better than having human eyes on other stocks while you're watching certain stocks and learn stuff yourself. So I mean, that's really all I do. And then I love the volatile stocks. I'm sure many people do. If there's a lot of volume coming in, you can get in, you can get out really quick. um, so a lot of my trades have been really quick, in and out within a couple candles of each other on even the 2-minute chart. And that's pretty much how my day goes. Just constantly scanning.
What I'm curious, because you said you like to just cut your losses super quick. So I mean, what does a typical loss look like for you? Like 40-50 bucks, or I mean, what's an average losing trade for you?
Yeah, I think you probably nailed it with 40 or $50.
Okay, so your
Um,
spreadsheet actually makes super good sense now with
yeah.
those numbers, where they're at, because if you're cutting them fast and only letting them be
Hmm.
40-50, then yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, good on
Yeah.
you for that. And yeah, good.
Yeah, especially with like the stock VRX, that's been going crazy lately. I've been trading that almost every day, and it's been really good to me. I mean, I've had a day where it probably took $20 for me, but I mean that's minuscule to winning, making a couple hundred during that day. And I believe I believe it's Chad, he was using what, 25 lots, selling and buying in 25 lots. I've been doing something similar. I'd be doing between like 50 and 100. But again, I'm in and out really quick with that, because that can drop and go against you pretty quickly. Um,
And you will
so
be there soon, because Chad went through an extensive period of paper trading. Now he's using real money, except he's using super, super
oh
small
yeah.
size. So at the beginning of the year, we'll make sure that when you go live, it's with a very, very small share size,
Hmm.
just so you can slowly ease your way into
Yep.
trading. So, but Ches, you're going to ask a very common question around here, and we're going to really start to wrap this puppy up.
So it's not the most important question, but it's definitely up there as far as ranking. So everyone knows that I do own a time machine. It took a long time to build, just about my entire lifetime to build. I've been working on it since I was a child. And I do allow people that we interview here on this podcast to,
Since he was a child, so about 3 years ago is when he
yeah,
started working
about 3 years
on
ago, I
it.
started working on it. But if you could use that time machine and go back to when you first started trading and give yourself one piece of advice, what would that advice be?
Be patient. Do learn before you jump into the deep end.
But you were learning. You went through all that YouTube content.
That's very true. Find
Maybe learn
actual
in a more
education.
learn in a more structured environment.
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you really believe that, or did I lead you to that answer? Because I want to be totally unbiased. I want you to be
No, that's 100%.
okay. Okay. Because I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, you got to learn," and then people think, "All right, learning. Now let me hop on YouTube." And yeah, I'm not going to deny that there's free stuff out there, but in fact, we'll link it in the show notes. I did a video just explaining, and acknowledging that it is free, but there are some risks that come to it. So
Oh yeah.
if you're curious on that video, I'll link that. So, but yeah, good advice, and I think that would benefit you well. So now we're going to move into some of the fun questions. So I hope you're ready for these, and I'm going to kick off this whole
So too.
shabam. What is your favorite movie?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I love movies. Let's see if I can pick one that can stump you.
Almost unstumpable, except for
I'd say
the massive losing streak that I've been on. So, but we'll just forget about that.
You need a stop loss on your own quoting abilities.
Yeah, I know exactly. That stop loss was hit a long time ago.
I'd say Gladiator's up there, but I know you've already answered that one. So we'll go with Murder in the First.
I've never even heard of that movie. I think you just made that up. So, who's in
I
it?
didn't. Yeah, Kevin Bacon actually does a really good job. I think Christian Slater's in it. It's about Alcatraz, some guy who was wrongfully imprisoned in Alcatraz.
All right. Well, I'll have to add that to the movie list then. This is, I think, the best part about the whole show is my wife and I get some good movie suggestions that we can check out. So, good for that. What about your favorite meal? What kind of food do you like to eat over there in Boston?
Oh, definitely pizza. Pizza's up there. Fries.
You guys got better pizza than Chicago?
Never.
Probably equivalent. I would say
Ooh,
probably it's probably
equivalent, Chaz?
equivalent. Yeah. We've
Chaz,
got
what
some
do you
good
think?
pizza.
Not even close considering I visited Boston, but that's okay. You'll have to go to Chicago and try the pizza. That's all I'm going to say to you.
Chaz is from Chicago for listeners, so I am starting a feud here. I'm pushing buttons on purpose. So
No, oddly, I consider myself a pizza connoisseur, and
There you go.
the best pizza I ever had was, it might be a toss up between Washington D.C. and actually Aruba.
Interesting. Aruba wouldn't have expected that for a
Me either.
place to get pizza.
Yeah, it was really good.
So, what do you do for fun or hobbies outside of your full-time job and pursuing trading?
I actually play hockey a couple times a week. So that keeps me busy on Mondays and Tuesdays as well. Really, really not too much. I mean, I'm big into to work, so I'm constantly working as well as practicing trading, I should say. And I mean, I go out for drinks with friends, family, and just the typical stuff. Nothing special, just that really playing hockey. I've always loved playing hockey. I've been playing hockey since I was like 8. So
is this like legit ice hockey?
this is actually inline. It's you're in on rollerblades, but it's on like the tile. It's like
Right, yeah, my
actual
brother-in-law
hockey
does
rink,
it
yeah.
inline. That's why I asked, because I know that not all hockey is automatically just ice hockey. What do you play? Or is it just play whatever?
I play in a
Position-wise.
couple. Oh, position-wise, I play forward.
Okay. You're too scared to play defense?
I mean, I could, but
Yeah,
my team kind of needs me to.
I could play in the
be on
NFL if I
offense.
wanted to, I mean, I'm
That
just
might not
kidding.
end too well.
That's true. Where's someplace you'd like to visit someday?
Someplace I'd like to visit. Probably another one of the Caribbean islands. I mean, I enjoy Aruba was so relaxing. I mean, I know there's so many different islands there. I got to go back to at least one of the maybe Saints, like Saint Martin or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that whole general area. I've yet to check it out, but I'm definitely going to put it on my list. So, what are 3 words you believe should be associated with successful trading?
Knowledge, patience, definitely discipline.
Knowledge, patience, discipline. Those are three good words. I would have to agree with you there. Well, we got to wrap things up here. Now, you mentioned you were a little nervous at the beginning, and this is more of a plug for future people when I ask them so they know was it really that bad? Was it pretty, minus the technical difficulties that we had behind the scenes, was it too bad?
No, not necessarily. I mean, wish my train of thought worked more.
But I mean, me and Chaz, we're relatively normal, right? There's really nothing to be nervous about to hop on here and have a little chat with us, right?
I didn't even Chris Hansen you very hard for getting me up so early. So I mean,
I know that's very true.
I thought this was pretty friendly conversation.
No, they're not so bad.
See, so everybody listening, if I ask you, hey, would you like to be on the show? You got nothing to be scared of. I mean, it'll be just fine. It's not nearly as bad as what you might think it will be. So thank you very much, Nate, for hanging out with us on this Saturday morning. I really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
For those of you listening, would like to make a few quick, simple requests. If you're listening on claytrader.com, click that share button. Leave us a comment below. We do read those and appreciate the feedback. And also, if you're listening to this on iTunes, leave us a rating. And again, all feedback we do read and appreciate. And especially on iTunes with those rankings or with the rating you can give us, that just lets us know that you're finding this, the show still interesting and helpful, and we will keep finding guests to interview. So thank you again for all of you listeners out there, and we will see you back for the next episode.
This has been the Stock Trading Reality Podcast. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. To learn more about Clay and the Clay Trader community, including the trading team, premium training, and more, visit claytrader.com.